A very good afternoon to all of you. I wish you all a warm welcome to this wonderful session of online education organized by Government of Odisha. As we know, dear students, as we know, the health is a positive concept. The health is the personal wealth, it is social wealth, and also it affects the physical capabilities of individual. This means that when the individual is healthy, he or she can cope with all type of activities. So, my dear students, today's topic is about health and disease. Okay? Let us discuss detail about the disease, different type of diseases. First of all, come to the concept of health. What is health about? What is health? We cannot call an individual healthy when he or she not suffering from any type of disorder. The health is a complete state of physical, physiological, mental along with social well-being. According to World Health Organization, if we consider the dimensions provided by World Health Organization, which is situated in Geneva, Switzerland, World Health Organization established during 7th April 1948. So, 7th April 1948 is defined as is declared as World Health Day. Okay. Recently, according to WHO, the spiritual health is also added to it. When health is affected due to infections, various type of lifestyle, and also due to genetic diseases. Okay. Next, come to the epidemic condition. What is epidemiology and etiology? Epidemiology deals with the branch of medical science which deals with distribution of diseases in the population and factors determining the distribution of disease. Okay. The study of disease is called as etiology. Etiology, it is the study of disease. Okay. During the process of analysis of health effect, the infection, any type of physical, mechanical, physiological or chemical agents when started entering into the body, it also leads to abnormal symptoms. So, disease is the condition of body part in which there is a malfunction in normal functions of the individual. The harmful deviation of body, the harmful deviation from the normal activities of body is called as disease. It is otherwise called as the discomfort with specific symptoms. It simply states that the malfunctioning of body functions. Then come to different type of diseases. The diseases are classified into two different types. Basically, all the diseases are classified into two types. Disease categorized into two groups: congenital. The second type of disease are acquired disease. Congenital disease, these are the type of diseases which are transmitted from parents to offspring through gene. This can be prenatal. These are the congenital diseases are heritable disorders. These disorders are transmitted and this can be prenatally determined. What are acquired diseases? These are inborn diseases. These acquired diseases, these are acquired during the lifetime of individual, acquired during lifetime of individual, acquired during lifetime. The acquired diseases are again classified into two categories: communicable diseases, communicable. The second category of diseases are non-communicable diseases. Then what are communicable and non-communicable diseases? The acquired diseases, these are acquired by the individual during the lifetime. The communicable diseases are transmitted from infected to healthy individuals, while the non-communicable diseases do not transmit. The transmission of communicable diseases takes place with the help of living vectors or sometimes non-living vectors. These are categorized according to various type of agents, communicable diseases. Suppose we will take the example of malaria, filaria. The non-communicable diseases are different types. Suppose we will take the example of blood pressure, arthritis, diabetes. These are non-communicable diseases. Okay. Then come to the pathogen and parasites. What are pathogen? The pathogen is one of the individual which is capable of producing disease in the body. The ability of pathogen to enter and to produce different type of symptoms is called as pathogenicity. The degree of pathogenicity is called as virulence. Okay. But the parasites are different from pathogen. What are parasites? The parasites are always living agents. They live at expense of other individuals. They take the larger individual as host, and when the larger individual provide sufficient amount of nutrient and shelter to it, then immediately the parasites successfully adapt with the host condition and live inside the host. We can take all the parasites into pathogen, but all the pathogens are not parasites. The different type of disease causing agents, except these pathogen and parasites, if we consider other disease causing agents, they are also different. The disease causing agents may be physical, they may be chemical agents, mechanical agent, nutritional agent, biological agent. The presence of any type of agent or absence of any type of agent can leads to disease. So, all the diseases are transmitted by different methods. The communicable diseases shows direct transmission, indirect transmission also. What are direct transmission? Direct transmission means when the individual infected with certain disorders come in physical contact with healthy individual, it is directly transmitted, or the healthy individual make a contact with droplets, it is also directly transmitted. When animal like dog, cat, they started biting the individual, it is also directly transmitted. The direct transmission takes place from mother to baby through placenta. It also directly takes place in contact with soil and other contaminating agents. Okay. So, after direct transmission, there are also some indirect transmission. How the indirect transmission takes place? The indirect transmission takes place by various type of living and non-living agents. The non-living agents are Fermat. The non-living agent expressed by Fermat-Born method. What are Fermat-Born method? These are by the used articles of the patient. Okay. The living agents are different type of vectors. Suppose we will take the example of arthropoda. We will take the example of other living agents, except that air, food, water and human carriers also transmit the disorder. Okay. So, these are the indirect method of transmission. Then come to modes of pathogenicity. The pathogen started affecting the individual directly by destroying the tissues by two different methods. Come to that, the pathogen affect the individual by two methods. Directly they damage the tissue, or by the process of producing toxin. Tissue damage method by producing toxins. Mechanically, when the pathogen invade into the tissue, the tissue damage leads to different type of disorders. Then when the toxins are produced by the individual, there are two different type of toxins, endotoxins, exotoxins. Let us differentiate endo and exotoxins. What are endotoxin? What are exotoxins? The exotoxins are released as well as secreted. Suppose we will take the example of diphtheria, cholera, tetanus. These are exotoxins. Immediately the pathogen enter into the body, it started producing the toxin, so that the body physiological systems are affected, producing symptoms. What are endotoxins? The endotoxins are retained in the body and released after the death of microbes. Suppose we will take the example of typhoid, plague, dysentery. These are different type of endotoxins. And remember, the endotoxins are always polysaccharides, lipopolysaccharides, while the exotoxins are proteins. Okay. So, these are the various type of toxins. The tissue damage directly, mechanically or physically, it damages the host, while the toxins it affect the individual by different methods. So, let us discuss about different type of communicable diseases in detail. We have discussed already about all type of different categories of diseases, communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases, the pathogenicity, the modes of pathogenicity and endo-exotoxins. So, discuss about different type of communicable diseases. First, come to the most common communicable disease, that is malaria. The word malaria derived from mal air. Mal means foul smelling air, because the malaria was primarily believed to be spread from damp places. First of all, the malaria was related with damp habitat, mosquitoes by Lancashire, and during 1880 the parasite, malarial parasite was discovered by Laveran, Charles Laveran. During 1897 the mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito, which is the vector of malaria, has been discovered by Ronald Ross. Okay. The infecting stage of malarial parasite is the infecting stage for malaria is sporozoid. Okay. The mosquitoes never suck blood, only the female mosquito, it is suck blood, the female mosquito suck blood to nourish the egg within its stomach. Okay. So, after discovery of malaria, it has been found that the mosquito those bite human being are always female, the male never bite, because the female only require plasma proteins for providing nutrition to the eggs. Okay. So, how female Anopheles mosquito detect human being? They can detect for our body temperature, some secretions in our sweat which is called as alomens. The alomens are also responsible for attracting mosquito. Carbon dioxide that is exhaled through our respiratory system also attract mosquito. The mosquito is the primary host, while the human being are secondary host. What are the concept? Primary and secondary host. If we consider it, it is found that the organism where the sexual reproduction takes place is primary host and other individual is secondary. So, inside the body of mosquito, the sexual cycle takes place, it is called as primary host, human is secondary. But clinically it is different. The primary host is human being, because humans are more destroyed by the effect of malarial parasite. Okay. So, let us discuss about the life cycle of malarial parasite in detail. In some extent we will discuss about the cycle takes place in human being and mosquito. When the mosquito bite human being, mosquito bites, suppose this is the blood vessel, the mosquito bite human being, leave sporozoid through anopheline, the anopheline and sporozoid, these are released into the blood vessel. When sporozoid immediately released to the blood vessel, our body soldiers with what are they? WBC became active and started wandering behind these sporozoids, but the sporozoid move faster. So, they enter into the hepatic cells, hepatocytes, liver, hepatocytic cell, hepatic cells. When these sporozoids having sickle shaped body, the sporozoids are sickle shaped primarily. When they enter into the liver cell, immediately this shape changes. This shape changes. These are due to feeding, due to excess amount of nutrient. This stage is now called as seizoned stage. Inside the hepatic cell, these seizoned enter into the process of multiple fission. What happened? Due to multiple fission, a large number of merozoids are formed in liver, merozoids. Okay. These merozoids, the formation of merozoid is called as seizogony process. So, after repeated division, these enter into new cells, new liver cells, and when the liver is destroying by this parasite, no symptoms are produced by then. Okay. After that, they again enter into blood, again enter into the circulatory system. From this circulatory system, they enter into the RBC cell. What happened inside RBC? When they enter into the RBC, they started feeding hemoglobin. Actually, the hemoglobin, the protein globin is basically essential for the purpose of food, for the purpose of getting food. Okay. So, the RBC carries hemoglobin, RBC carries hemoglobin, and the parasite, the merozoites, when immediately released into the blood, directly enter into the RBC. What happened? Inside RBC, they started destroying hemoglobin into heme and globin. The heme get deposited while globin is taken by the parasite. So, inside RB cell, the heme component are present in form of dots, which is called as Schaffner's dot. These dots are called as Schaffner's dot. Okay. Numerous Schaffner's dot are found. After feeding, what happened? They again became larger. The size again became larger. The large size are again, it is found that the nucleus of the parasite is pushed to one side. There is a vacuole formed. It is called as signet ring stage. Signet ring stage. After that, signet ring stage. This again started dividing by asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction inside RBC, and it is found that inside it the merozoites are arranged like petals. Merozoites are arranged like petals of a flower. This stage is called as, it is called as rosette stage. Rosette stage. Okay. So, from the RBC, there is two way for them. They do not want to destroy the host, because these are parasites. Parasites always want to maintain their host. If host survive, they will survive. So, they do not destroy more RBC, because if RBC are destroyed, the human will die. What happened then? Some of the parasites became gametocytes. They became gametocytes. The gametocytes are micro and mega gametocytes. So, these gametes are, when these gametes are formed, immediately they are sucked by, when mosquito bite human being again, these gametes are taken up to the mosquito. If the mosquito do not bite, what happen? The gametes die, they remain in the blood of human being and they die. During the process of destroying RBC, there is a toxic pigment which is called as hemogen. Hemogen. The hemogen is released. So, the hemogen is responsible for producing malarial fever. Okay. So, the period is called as incubation period. Till hemogen has not been produced, there is no symptoms of disease, no symptoms of disorder in body of human. Okay. So, after that the sexual cycle takes place in mosquito. So, let us discuss what happen inside the body of mosquito. When the gametes are taken up by the mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito, they directly enter into the midgut of mosquito, enter into the gut. Suppose this is the mosquito, at the midgut of mosquito, the gametocytes remain in the midgut. What happen? these gametes fusion of gametes to produce zygote. The zygote produces the zygote undergoes further division and it produces ookinete. Ookinete destroy and bore the stomach wall, producing oocyst. After formation of oocyst, what happened? Inside the oocyst, sporozoids are formed. The sporozoids remain in the salivary gland and ready for biting another human being to spread the malaria, and it also possible due to secretion of anopheline from the salivary gland. So, in this way the malarial parasite has been transmitted from mosquito to human being. Okay. Then come to different types of malaria. We have 4 different species of Plasmodium. Plasmodium vivax, it causes benign tertian malaria. Plasmodium ovale, mild tertian malaria. Plasmodium falciparum, which is a large name, it causes the most serious type of malaria, that is called as malignant malaria or cerebral malaria. In all these cases, the incubation period is about the period of reoccurrence of fever is 48 hours. But in case of Plasmodium malaria, which cause quartan malaria, after 72 hours the fever reoccurs. Above that, when more than 2 species started infecting human being, it is called as mixed malaria. The malaria parasite also attack other hemotherms, it also attack birds and other species. Then come to different type of symptoms. There is a symptom that the frequent symptom appear after 14 days. When hemogen granules appear in blood, what are the different symptoms? Restlessness, sleeplessness, muscular pain, headache, chilling fever. The individual suffers from hemoglobin anemia because RBC are destroyed. The body temperature increases up to 106 degree Celsius, followed by sweating. Okay. How can we prevent it? How malaria can be prevented? They prevented by the destruction of breeding place. We are different type of living agents, those can kill the malarial parasite. Suppose we will take the example of duck, it eat mosquito larva from water, gambusia fish, dragonflies, utricularia, these are also destroying the larva. Okay. Then mosquito repellents are also used and insecticides are used. Okay. The commonly used drug for malaria is quinine, except that some anti-malarial drug chloroquine, primaquine, paludrine, sulfadoxine are also used for the purpose. Okay. Then we will discuss another disease, that is amoebasis. The disease amoebasis is caused by Entamoeba histolytica. It is one of the monogenetic. Malarial parasite was digenetic, but it is monogenetic parasite. The pathogenic nature was discovered by Lusk, and Lambley discovered Entamoeba histolytica for the first time. Okay. It is mostly found in male than female. It live in the intestine. It generally live in the intestine. The infective stage is tetranucleated stage. The most common identifying character of it, the presence of chromatoid bodies. The chromatoid bodies help in formation of cyst. Okay. The transmission, how it is transmitted? It is transmitted by fecal-oral route. Fecal-oral route. What is fecal or oral? Fecal-oral route called? The fecal-oral route is that it is released outside by fecal materials of human being and again infect human through the oral passage. The vectors are cockroach, flies, Musca domestica or other insects. Okay. So, when the cyst enter into stomach, it is well protected in stomach because the cyst is present. When the tetranucleated form started entering into the stomach, there is no effect of stomach acid on it. Immediately the tetranucleated cyst form reach the small intestine. At the intestine, the enzyme trypsin digests the cyst and release it. When it is released, it started when the cyst is released, the individual, it is set free inside the large intestine. It remain at the, especially at the colon. At the colon zone, there are two different types. After asexual reproduction, there are two forms, magna form and minota form. The magna form is the tissue invading form, while the minota released through the feces to outside and is responsible for transmission of disorder. Okay. The magna invade the tissue. It bore the mucous membrane. The mucous membrane is bored, so that blood and mucus released. The diagnosis takes place by presence of charcoal laden crystals in the cytoplasm of eosinophilic cells. If we examine diagnosis through blood, the charcoal laden crystals determine the disorder in eosinophilia. What are the symptoms? The common symptoms are the release of blood with feces, abdominal pain. It started affecting liver, spleen and other vital organs of the body. How it can be prevented? The fecal material should be disposed, hands should be properly sanitized, nails should be removed, drinking water should be boiled, the fruits and vegetables should be washed with potassium permanganate, metronidazole, tinidazole, imetin, enteroquinol. Such type of drugs are also used for the purpose. Then come to another disorder, typhoid. It is caused by Salmonella typhi. Another disorder which cause enteric fever or intestinal fever. It is transmitted by drinking water, house flies and other contaminating agents. The sharing of dishes through contaminated food also transmitted. The incubation period is about 1 to 3 weeks. It passes through stomach into the intestine. The acid resistance, it is resistant, acid resistant and quickly multiply inside intestine. What happen? What are the common symptoms? It causes high fever, lower pulse rate, weakness, constipation, intestinal ulcer. It also leads to bloody stool and remember it can be confirmed by Widal test. Okay. And it can be treated by amoxicillin, tetracycline, terramycin are used, and in recent time typhoid vaccine is also available. But the most common preventive is avoid contamination. Okay. Then another disorder, pneumonia. It is another bacterial disorder caused by Diplococcus pneumonia, Streptococcus pneumonia, Haemophilus influenza. It is one of the serious disorder of our lungs. Accumulation of dead cells and fluid in the alveoli takes place during this disorder. The bacteria causing this disorder are called as pneumococcus. It is transmitted by respiratory droplets, sputum of the patient, and sharing glasses and utensils previously used by the infected person. Okay. What are the symptoms? Lymph, mucus, WBC collected in the alveoli and bronchioles. So, there is no proper exchange of gas. The skin turns into blue color. This defect is called as cyanosis. Chest pain takes place, high fever. Okay. These are the common symptoms. How can we prevent us? It is prevented by the vaccination process. Ampicillin, penicillin, streptomycin, these are used for this purpose. Okay. Then come to ascariasis. Ascariasis is another parasitic disorder caused by a nematode called as Ascaris lumbricoides. Ascaris lumbricoides. Most common intestinal parasite which is found in children, largest nematode where cuticle is present. Mind, it is the largest nematode of human having a cuticle. Okay. The cuticle protected from the digesting fluid of stomach, intestine. There is a sexual dimorphism found among male and female. The male is slightly short, and it is the posterior part of the male is curved, while the female is larger with tapering ends. Male consists of penile setae. These live in the lumen of intestine. The female produces eggs after fertilization, and generally 2 lakh eggs produced per day. The fertile eggs became infective after 18 days up to several weeks. Okay. The molting takes place in soil, and also the larva mature at lungs. Okay. If we describe the pathway, it is found that when the parasite, the infective stage or rhabditiform larva reach intestine, the larva first reach the intestine. From the intestine, there is a 21-day wandering cycle. What happen? Through the blood vessel, from it bore the intestine, it enter into the bloodstream, and from the bloodstream it directly enter into liver. From the liver through hepatic vein it enters to heart, hepatic vein it enter into heart. From the heart by pulmonary trunk it enters lungs. From the lungs it reach to alveoli, where the molting takes place. It became adult here. Molting takes place. One molting takes place at the alveoli, after which it reaches the pharynx. From the pharynx it is again swallowed to the intestine, swallowed by the individual to the intestine, and intestine it became adult. So that the from the pharynx, when it reached the intestine again, the individual became adult. After attaining adult stage, it started reproducing again, the male and female reproduces, and during reproduction they started laying eggs, and the egg come outside of the body through feces, and this infective stage, the molting takes place in soil, the embryonated stage or rhabditated form reach the intestine, then follows this pathway for the purpose of completion of its life cycle. What are the common symptoms then? If we see, you can see it causes abdominal pain, visceral damage, enlargement of internal organ, sometimes it causes ulcer, it blocks the pancreatic duct, indigestion and vomiting. It can be prevented by proper sanitary condition, disposal of waste, disinfectants are used, hexyl resorcinol, albendazole, thiabendazole are the most essential drugs which are effective against the parasites. Next come to another protozoan parasite which is filariasis. The filariasis disorder, it is caused by Wucheria bancrofti, Broggia malai and Broglia timori. It is one of the digenetic parasite like malaria parasite. It is transmitted through Culex mosquito and adult remain in the lymphatic system of man. After mating male and female, it produces thousands of larvae. These larvae are called as microfilaria. The nocturnal periodicity is found in such cases because during night time they come to the peripheral level of blood vessel and during daytime they remain inside the blood vessel interior. So, for detecting this we are taking the night blood, it is very much essential. The mosquito carrying it is Culex mosquito. These are viviparous, mind it, these are viviparous parasites. The parasite block the lymphatic vessel causing swelling of organ. Okay. Then come to symptoms of filariasis. It causes lymphatic swelling, vomiting, nausea, it causes oedema of skin, underlying tissue especially leg and genitalia, it is divide faster and excessive enlargement of leg in such cases is called as elephantiasis. It causes also periodic fever and headache. Mosquito repellents are used for preventing it, antimony and arsenic compounds are used, heterogen compounds are also used for the purpose. Okay. Then come to another type of fungal disorder. The fungal disease produces the fungal disease produces ring like structure. We are discussing about ringworm. Ringworm, it is not a worm because it produces ring like structure in skin, that is why it is called as ringworm. It affects hair, dermatophyte, genera dermatophyte causing it, trichophyton, epidermophyton, microsporum, these fungi are causing fungal disorders. What are the common symptoms? Itching with dry and scaly lesions, watery discharge from the infected area, sometimes bloods are also released from it. Antifungal drugs are used and antifungal ointments like clotrimazole, miconazole are also used. Then different fungi, if we take the example of Tinea pedis, Tinea crudis, Tinea barbi, Tinea corporis, Tinea ungium, these are affecting different parts of the body. Okay. Next come to common cold. The common cold, it is one of the viral disease caused by a RNA virus. Rhinovirus is known to cause common cold. Rhinovirus causes injury to mucosal cells, so that it causes nasal congestion and other symptoms. The incubation period is about 3 to 7 days and the common symptoms are over secretions of nasal mucus, sometimes sore throat, fever, stuffy nose and headache takes place. It can be prevented by antibiotics, antiviral drugs, proper sanitation should be maintained and viral disinfectants are used for the purpose. Okay. Next come to non-communicable diseases. We will discuss about cancer and diabetes here. The cancer is one of the uncontrolled, unorganized abnormal growth of cell forming a mass or group of undifferentiated malignant cells called as neoplasm or tumor cells. Okay. The tumor cells spread in the body through a process called as metastasis. Actually, these cancer cells are the cancer do not affect non-nucleated cells, only it spread through the nucleated cells. It shows anaplasia and hyperplasia cancer cells. Anaplasia means abnormality in structure, hyperplasia means increase in number of cells. Okay. Different type of cancers which are broadly categorized into three groups: carcinoma, epithelial cancer, sarcoma, mesodermal muscular cancer, sarcomere cancer, leukemia, cancer of WBC. RBC cell never enter into cancerous nature because they do not have nucleus. The common symptoms are unusual bleeding, loss of body weight. Sometimes it shows that feeling of vertex is the sign of cancer. Persistent cough, difficulty in swallowing, any type of wound that does not heal, also the symptoms of cancer. The cancer can be prevented by chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or by the purpose of surgical removal of the affected organ. Okay. Then we will discuss about diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus, these are non-communicable disorder. These are due to diabetes mellitus is due to deficiency in secretion of insulin. Beta cells of pancreas are destroyed, or sometimes they become abnormal in producing sufficient amount of insulin. Diabetes insipidus, it is due to less secretion of ADH. And the last disease we will discuss about AIDS. Okay. AIDS is caused by HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. It was first discovered by Montagnier in 1982 and later isolated by Robert Gallo in 1983. We have to describe detail about the structure. It is seen that the virus is RNA virus having reverse transcriptase enzyme attached to RNA. It causes reverse transcription from the RNA, it produces DNA. The outer covering is lipid, formed of lipid having GP41 and GP120, GP120 glycoprotein and GP41 attached to the lipid layer. Below the lipid layer there are two protein layers, P17 and P24, and inside the protein core there is RNA. The RNA get attached to reverse transcriptase enzyme. This reverse transcriptase convert the RNA into DNA and started regulating the host during invasion. Okay. What are the common methods of transmission? It can be transmitted by unprotected sexual activities, by multiple sex partners, by use of common syringe and needle by which were already used by drug abusers. Okay. So, we can identify the symptoms. What are the common symptoms? The symptoms include chronic fever, persistent swelling of lymph glands, lymphatic zones, night sweating, nocturnal sweating is another symptom. It also causes diarrhea, loss of weight, reduced number of helper T cells are also found, and the body susceptible to any type of infection. Okay. We can detect this dreadful disease by two different tests carried by ELISA: enzyme linked immunosorbent assay and Western blotting. What is Western blotting? When the proteins are blotted out, we have already studied about southern blotting, northern blotting, Western blotting. Southern blotting, the blotting of DNA, there is a DNA hybrid. Northern blotting, RNA is blotted out from a mixture. Western blotting, protein is blotted out. Okay. ELISA and Western blotting are the method of detecting AIDS. How can it is prevented? We are taking certain precautions and certain drugs are also used for this purpose. We are using different type of drugs, a variety of drugs called as AZT, zidovudine, dideoxycytidine are said to be effective. Okay. Except these drugs, we have to certain preventive measures. Use of disposable syringe or needle should occur, multiple sex partners should be avoided, unprotected sexual activity should be avoided, and use of common razors should be avoided. If we take the precautions, we can easily eradicate the disorder. So, my dear students, we have already discussed about all the topics given in your syllabus. In this session, it has been reduced to a few. We have already discussed about all the disease, their symptoms, prevention, and we have discussed malaria in detail, the life cycle, because more questions are susceptible to come from this part. So, I think you have enjoyed the class, and thank you all again.